So this is another talk. Let's get into it. I argue with people about relativity. This is one of the things that people find funny. The claim that Einstein wrong because he did not anticipate his own theory of general relativity. So this is what my information sources will be as these two people talk about Einstein. This is the first person. She's a professor of astronomy and physics. And this is the other person. He's a theoretical physicist and science writer. And the article is in this magazine. And this is the article. It's entitled "When Einstein Was Wrong." Bernstein is replying to Priva. As I give you a few minutes to read it. It's a letter to the editors and a recent interesting review of two books, and it carries on. So it's in response to what had previously been written. So hopefully you've read that. Hopefully you were a fast reader and read all of that. So the article thing goes on further. It explains, but there is a second defect, gravitation, which also predicts a slower clock rate. And it carries on. I'll give you a few minutes to read that. Hopefully that's enough time. You've got the general gist. And this is the paper being referred to. It's Einstein's 1905 paper on special relativity. That's his first paper on special relativity, on the electrodynamics of moving bodies. Einstein came up with special relativity in 1905, and 10 years later he came up with general relativity. So continuing on with the communication exchange. Priva replies, Bernstein is right to note that Einstein himself, using his theory of special relativity, got the prediction of clock speeds wrong in 1905. He incorrectly predicted that due to the Earth's rotation, a clock at the equator would run slower than one at the poles. Einstein did not anticipate his own theory of general relativity, which you would need to get it right. This would come in 1915. In other words, Einstein made an incorrect calculation in the context of his 1905 paper based upon special relativity, and really he needed to deal with general relativity, but special relativity was 1905, general relativity was 1915. So he makes a mistake in 1905 because he's not able to anticipate general relativity. So I'm highlighting the relevant bit. Einstein did not anticipate his own theory of general relativity, which you would need to get it right, to get right his calculation. This would come in 1915, i.e. Einstein in 1905 got his calculation wrong, and he needed his theory that he was to come up with years later to do the calculation correctly. Einstein did not anticipate his own theory of general relativity. People I argue with find that funny, but the fact remains Einstein was wrong in 1905. And the more general picture, read Einstein's and his papers, and he's full of mistakes. So his 1905 paper on special relativity has this mistake in it because he did not anticipate general relativity. And when people laugh at the claim that Einstein did not anticipate his own theory of general relativity, what they're trying to dismiss with their laughter is what Einstein wrote in 1905 he got wrong. So the method was Einstein did something wrong and then he had to be corrected. In this case, what he did in 1905 was wrong, and he had to then be corrected in 1915. But that seems to be the general method being used. A general pattern behaviour: if you deal with Einstein's relativity and it does not work, then make a correction to it, and then still carrying on to claim it to be Einstein's relativity. In the case of Einstein's paper in 1905, they keep reprinting his 1905 special relativity paper without mentioning in those reprints that it has a mistake in it. Namely, the mistake: the paper does not anticipate general relativity, and so is an error. Finished. Thank you. That's the end. Cheers. Oh,